want to thank everyone that's joining us. This is the first that we've been able to try this virtual online. Last meeting we did just council and staff. So this will be a challenge, so bear with me. The cell phone thing, unless you absolutely need it, you might want to put it on vibrate. And the moment of silent reflection, I think all I'm going to do there is, I think we've, like I said before, we've had lots of time on our own, and I don't think we need the silent reflection, but I would like to send condolences to Nova Scotia with regards to Constable Heidi Stevenson and all the people that passed away out there. They're having a difficult time. If it wasn't difficult enough, this is going to be really challenging for them out there. So I do send condolences to all of them. I'll remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest if it arises. I didn't see any written declarations, so I would take it there isn't any. So we do have minutes from the council meeting on April 6th. I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes.
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do have two delegations today. The first delegation is going to be Gary Greenhall, and it's with regards to crews or something for our first responders and essential service people. So Gary, if you bear with me, I'm just trying to get everything up online here, but if you would like to start off by telling us what it is you were looking for there from council.
Okay. So what I would like to do is, it's basically a car parade, classic car parade, in appreciation of the first responders, and leave from Havelock and go up to Bobcaygeon and back through Lindsay, Peterborough. But I'd like to be able to stage the cars across from the Home Hardware and maybe the Chinese restaurant. And it's on my flyer, it's stated that they're not to get out of their cars, and if they absolutely have to, that they respect the 6-foot physical distancing rule. And it's basically line up at 9 o'clock and leave Havelock at 9:30.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I did read the flyer. Go ahead.
It's not a car show. It's not a car show, so we're not going to be out mingling and hanging around the cars. It's a line up and go.
Yeah, and I did go over your flyer and give it a lot of thought this weekend, and to me, it's similar to what you know, the fire and the police are doing to try and, like, you know, it does sound like you're going to try and do the right thing. The only thing I worry about is the staying at home thing, but the thoughts here nice here, and it might be something that would take off, and it is always nice anyway. We can recognize the people that are getting us through this. So I thought it would be good if it was on this agenda so council can have some discussion and see what they think. If you know, and then, you know, I don't know outside of us whether the province or anybody would have anything to say with that, or the OPP. But
I have spoken with the OPP in Peterborough, the detachment, and they actually agreed to escort the parade.
Very good. Very good. So, okay, I think it's a great idea, but I'll open it up to council, and if anybody's got any questions or concerns. Art, if you could, you can go ahead, and then Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Gary and Mayor Martin. It's a troubling time now for everyone. I think the last month and a half has brought more than a fair share of stress for everyone. And as long as, like as Gary said, the physical distancing rules are adhered to, they're not getting out of their cars. They'll be in their cars. The OPP has already agreed to it. I think it's something that might, you know, bring a little bit of cheer to some people. So I'm all for it.
Very good. Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think we all agree that, you know, this is a good thing, as Councillor Hart-Webb has also commented on. So to Gary, thanks for organizing it. My only caution is, because we have had issues, or we don't have people that are abiding by the rules yet, It's noticeable, so I would just ask extra precaution for the distancing and not mingling. I know the OPP being there, that's going to be a plus plus, but thank you for what you're doing there, and you definitely have my support. And if you're looking for a motion, Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Ellis, and Councillor Pomeroy, you had something to say. Are you seconding that before you get?
I'll second that with a comment. Thanks, Gary. I think it's well organized, and kudos to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any more comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, well, we do support that, Gary, and thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, would the council maybe advertise on their sign for us out the front there, down the road as we get closer?
Yeah, I think we can do that, Bob. If you can take care of that, that would be great.
Yeah, we can do that. Gary, if we can be in contact and we'll get something together.
Appreciate it very much, Bob. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Gary.
Very much. Okay.
Okay, our second delegation, our motion to receive the delegation, I guess, or do you need a motion there, Bob? Moved by
No,
Councillor-
we've approved the activity, so we're fine.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into our second delegation as Peterborough Housing Corporation. So we have Bonnie Clark, I see there, and Darlene Cook. So I don't know which one's going to go first. I guess Darlene, if you wanted to start off, and then your supporter there can step in. So go ahead, Darlene.
Thank you. I'm assuming that what everyone would like is an update on the Havelock building, which we have yet to name or have a ceremony about, which we would really like to do this spring, but I imagine that will be on hold because the various levels of government will have to approve, and it would be a bit of a social gathering. I'm pleased to say that the development is moving along probably more quickly than we even anticipated. I have Martin Musgrave, the Director of Operations, here with me, and he, after I finish speaking, he can give you a bit of an update on the construction. I think that the worst enemy we've had so far has been a lot of mud. But they put a temporary road in so that they're able to get the supplies that they need. We were anticipating end of December completion. We think there's a strong possibility the building will be finished earlier than that. As you know, several industrial construction sites around the province are closed down, so it means that while they're respecting social distancing on the site, that they're able to bring more trades in more expeditiously. I just, if you want, I'll pass the computer over to Martin, and he can update you on that.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everybody. Yes, the update position really at the moment is the biggest enemy we've had over the last few weeks has been mud. So we've been hoping for days and days of dry weather. That appears to be happening now. With the temporary road, as I say, Dowron Construction have been moving at a really good pace. With the COVID-19 and other things, as soon as the province started to put regulations out, we've been working with Dowron to ensure that they've been adhering to all the health regulations that have been brought out. To be honest, they're actually ahead of the game on most things. Everybody's checked temperature-wise in the morning. Everybody signs to say they're fit and healthy, and they're observing the 6 feet, 2 meters in new money rules. So that's going really, really well. Just to advise you at the moment, we are spending in the region of around $900,000 a month on the project. So it is really in full swing. So, and if any members fancy a small drive out, if you just drive past, you will see that it's going really well. Due to the current state of the play, there are no visitors to the site. So Unfortunately, we can't do any tours or any walk rounds. The only person who could possibly get on is myself, but apart from that, there is only contract staff allowed. Happy to take any questions on that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I was by it on the weekend, and yeah, it's really coming along. It's looking great. It's a huge place, and I know I've talked to Bonnie a few times at County Council, but this is a good opportunity for council to get some questions in. There was some questions at the last meeting just to get updates. So, Bonnie, if you wanted to.
Yes, before it's opened up to council and questions, I want to assure council members that the board is very anxious to get this finished and completed and get people in. That's what our job is at Peterborough Housing, is to put roofs over people's heads. And we feel that the project, as management just said, is online or maybe a bit ahead, and hopefully we can have maybe I guess Norwood Fair is not going to be with us, so maybe we can look forward to the opening here and have a bit of a community event around that. So anyway, with COVID-19, I just want to commend Martin working with our contractor, because they have been able to keep things on track with this. It's been a challenge, but the staff has really worked well with the contractor, and I think you people will be happy at the end result. So with, I'll say no more, and I'm certain there will be questions.
Yeah, and the challenges, I can relate to that. I'm sure our building inspector, John, is having some issues as far as trying to time things properly so he can get in and adhere to the social distancing. So, okay, I'll open it up to council, and Councillor Pomeroy, I'll start with you and then move around the table.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. In our open house that we had with, and which was a great turnout back in, I think it was November of 17. And since that time, the building is downsized. There's used to be 12 units that were with a kitchen area for independent and 2 fourplex units. I understand the cutback on 12 units, but we don't have any assisted living there now. No kitchen, so there'd be no assisted living. And the delegation, or the open house that we had, most of them were older people, like myself, I guess, but that were really happy about this, because some of them really needed some assisted living. I feel, you know, that we've done our part here as a council and as a township of HBM, because we donated the property to the housing, and we've financed most of it so far. And I don't know, but we don't seem to have much say in HBM. It's just whatever you ran through. I don't know. And I have another couple questions. There was November 27th meeting. It was for seniors 59 years and older. I would like to know if that still applies. And the other thing is, you could put your name on a waiting list. Is that waiting list being honored or not? At the time of the open house, that was the consensus of everyone, that you could call in and have your name put on the list. So I would like to know if that's still applicable. I probably have another couple things here, but I'll let you answer those if you can right now.
Hey, Darlene, I'll turn it back to you. There's a few questions there, so I'll let you try and answer them.
So thank you, Barry, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Barry, for those questions. Originally, it was going to be a 32 unit facility with a commercial kitchen, and the hopes that we would be able to mirror our property that is in Spruce Corners in Apsley. The property in Apsley is probably 22, 23 years old, and the model that we were going for to replicate that in a small community was that the PSWs would do the cooking, that they would do the meals. That's what happens in Apsley. But times have changed and public health rules have changed, and we're no longer able to present a model that would allow PSWs to actually do the meal preparation, etc. When we looked at the economics of bringing in a chef, a staff for 12, it was going to be 12 out of the 24 units in the larger building that were going to be assisted living, we started to think about how we could be a little more creative about that and how we could make it economically feasible. As you know, the first building came in at around, I think it was around 12, 13 million, which the budget was 7. So we did have to do some major cuts. Part of the cuts were the 8 units that were in the quads. We have to, just to let you know, all the infrastructure is being put in the larger building to be able at a later date to hook up to feed those 2 quads when funding becomes available to have those. So we've worked with our community partners, including VON and Community Care, and we've also had conversations with the owners of what's going to be the new long-term care. We believe that through those agencies, we may be able to deliver Meals on Wheels, or we may be able to provide actual meal service that we can broker with the long-term care facility. So we've tried very hard to make some workarounds. The tenants in the building, the 24 units who will qualify for assisted living in their own homes in any spot in the community will still be eligible. And in fact, Community Care and VON will be on site. So we've changed what the 12 units that were going to be assisted living look like. They now have full kitchens rather than just a little bar fridge and microwave. They will have full kitchens, and the configuration of those units has changed a fair bit. So not what we had originally envisioned, and not able to model exactly after Spruce Corners because times have changed. But we think that we will still be able to give good service to all of those residents. And I would thank you. We have received Infrastructure Ontario financing, and we did reach out to the township because the township can secure that financing at 1% lower than we can as a municipal organization. So thank you very much for giving us that, through your municipality, enabling us to be the beneficiary of that lower interest rate. And we've worked very well with your staff and our finance department to have those funds forwarded, and at the end of the day we will be taking out a mortgage, and as we go along paying the interest payments on those on that loan. We do that in a monthly fashion. So that has been a great help, and we also appreciate all of the donation of the land and the services. In answer to your question about the age, we regard our senior population as 59 and over. So certainly that will still be the qualifier. We did start, actually, I remember 2 open house meetings, and at both of those we were collecting names of residents that would be interested in the property, and that list has grown, and as the building comes out of the ground, more interest come, and our resident services coordinators still are maintaining a list. We'll probably start to activate that list, I would think, by August or September, going by telephone to those residents that had expressed an interest in the property, and starting to look at what the rents will be and what the eligibility. I can tell you right now that each year the province and the city of Peterborough publish a document that talks about in affordable housing, which 12 of the units are deemed affordable units. Currently, the 80% average market rent is $754 for the year of 2020. We hope to have our doors open in 2020. I would say at the very latest, I'm looking at Martin across the room, at the very latest, it probably would be January, February, but we're actually anticipating we may even be a little earlier than that. The maximum annual household income for someone to qualify for that rent is $33,912. So that comes from a table and a summary of rents and household income levels that is, as I said, published by the province, and then it is calculated with local market in mind. So we have a rent for the city of Peterborough and one for outside of the city. And there are some rules that go along with that. If someone has a property or a house, they must have that house for sale, and it has to be a sold property in order for them to be eligible to go into the rental housing. So 12 of them will be at a little above affordable market rent, but we're still looking in the range of probably $800–900. So I think I'm hoping, Councillor Pomeroy, that has satisfied your list.
Yes, I just have one more question, and that is our list. Does it, if it could include HBM residents? You know, that's what the intent was on the start, was to look after our own, and then is that how the list is going to work, or is it just going to go out as a general?
So the current list, I would say in all likelihood, is likely made up of your residents. However, we cannot give priority. It would be against human rights. So we are not allowed to have a local rule, but I would say for the most part, the people who from the beginning, who have been on the list the longest, first come, first serve, and those would have been the residents that have attended those open house meetings.
Thank you.
Okay, Darlene, and I would think with the kitchenettes that they're going to have, or the little kitchens that they're going to have, it'll make it easier for people, like if PSWs come in, they'll prepare some meals for the people if need be. That'll help in that way, I would imagine, going forward, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. All right, Councillor Ellis, you had a comment?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, Darlene.
Morning.
Councillor Pomeroy has already basically addressed what my question was, and I wanted to refer back to our early meetings where they were very well attended by seniors from our municipality, some being former council members or members of council. At those meetings, it was very clear to myself, as well as all those people that were there, that the occupancy was for HBM municipality residents. That was very clear, and if we had been doing this meeting at the council chambers, we would have had a packed house, because it is a bit of an issue within our municipality. People are hearing that people are not going to be necessarily from Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. And again, this is kind of general conversation within the municipality. So I guess we're looking for more of a confirmed answer from you guys regarding the list of people that are going to move in there, because it is a bit of a topic within our municipality. And again, had we been having this meeting at our office, the galley probably would have been full, because it is a bit of an issue out in the general.
I'm seeing Bonnie's hand up. I think
Yes, if I may just answer that. So as Darlene said, the list there and people left their names would have been people, Larry, that attended that meeting. So therefore, that would have been your residents. I would say the bulk on that list are residents of HBM. The message we should put out is get yourself on that list, because if you aren't on the list, then you're not going to be considered. I mean, if you're on the list and you don't want to move in, that's fine. Then you go down to the next person. But we can't be charged under the human rights issue. We have to all work within those laws. But I think get the message out there. If you left your name and you're on that list, and if you aren't, get your name on the list. And the other thing I'd like to add to that, we have not put the quads out of our mind, as Darlene said. That is potential there. If we can get the monies to do them and move forward, again, we will move forward. The land is there, which we very much appreciate. But the thing is, get your name on the list.
Okay, thank you.
so. I don't have anything to add to that. We do have a healthy list from both of those meetings, and although formally, I cannot say that there will be a preference, but we will do the list in the order that we have had applicants apply. And I would say predominantly, those are from HBM.
And if I can just add to that, I know over the past months or year, I guess, some residents have called at some point, and they said there was no list at that point.
So I'm not sure if there's been a misunderstanding. I do know that in our resident service coordinator, they do hold the list. We have both of the lists that were charted at the two meetings, and people have phoned in since. Sometimes, because we also manage Housing Access Peterborough, which is rent geared to income, it may be that those residents have called into Housing Access Peterborough, who does not hold the list. It's Peterborough Housing that holds the list. Our affordable list is quite different than what I would call the centralized wait list for rent geared to income.
Okay, thank you, Darlene.
You're welcome.
Our mayor has disappeared.
We lost our mayor. Okay. He'll be back in a moment.
He's checking out the construction site.
Yeah, he had to go take a drive.
There you go. I'm back again. I don't know. It froze and then it went out.
Oh, Jim.
I don't know.
Technical difficulties.
So I don't know how the meeting's been going since I left, but
Oh, we've all been talking about you. It's okay.
so I don't know where we're at now, but Bonnie was talking and then I lost everything. So
I think, Mayor Martin, I think the deputy mayor would like to speak. He's got his hand up there, so.
okay, sorry about that, Dave. Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming and doing your presentation. It certainly has cleared up a lot for me. I appreciate it. So the only thing I can add to that is perhaps that, as Councillor Ellis has spoken about the people calling in, if you could let Bob, our clerk / CEO, have the right number for the residents, that they are phoning the right number in Peterborough Housing Corp. And if they contact our office, then we can give them the right information. But thank you for your presentation. It was good. Thank you, Diane, Bonnie, Mr. Hargreaves.
Okay, and Hart, you had something there? You're muted.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Darlene and Bonnie. My question was in terms of, you referenced the infrastructure was being put in the building to service the 2 quads if we do get funding for that. Do you know when the possible next funding stream will open that we could apply for, or you could apply for?
No, no crystal ball. Absolutely not.
Not even a guess?
Not even a guess. Currently, I've been trying to be in touch with our colleagues at Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing on other issues. I'm not even getting emails back right now. So not business as usual right now. You know what? I'm optimistic that when we come out of this, one of the most nimble agencies will be us, ready to go with construction and ready to put some money into the economy in order to help stimulate the economy. So it wouldn't surprise me if there were some initiatives, but we never know when those announcements are going to be made.
Well, that's kind of along the same lines as I was thinking, Darlene, is that hopefully once this does turn around, that maybe a little government injection, we'll see some more capital projects pop up, right, in terms of infrastructure and whatnot. So maybe that funding will become available. The one other question was, in terms of when you were talking about the rent prices, you threw out 2 numbers. I think you said the average rent was 754 in the market. Was that the marketplace number?
No, that is the affordable. 754 is the affordable.
Okay, and the other number was, you said an estimate between 800 and 900.
Yeah, we haven't made a determination on that yet.
And what's the split in the building then in terms of
12 and 12.
12 and 12? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bonnie, go ahead.
Just to add to Councillor Hart around the numbers, that 754 average rent, you have to have an income less, and correct me, Darlene, if I'm wrong, less than 30, I think the number you gave was 33,912. So you have to come under that threshold in order to receive the 754.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Okay. Sometimes it's a little confusing, Jim, with affordable rent geared. It's a different world out there, and it takes me my wits about me keeping them separated.
And that's the thing. I think this thing is totally different from any other buildings around Havelock, especially. It's really exciting to see what's going on up there. It's looking really good. So can't wait to see. I'm glad to hear it might be moving ahead. Hopefully the weather keeps working with us and things can keep moving along, because there's a lot of people excited about this, and it's going to be really good for the community. So with that,
one last note, if I may, our Peterborough Housing phone number is 705-742-0439. And the staff person that looks after our affordable wait list, her extension is 212.
very good. So, Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Just one last quick one. Then if we call that number, somebody would have the number of the total number of names that are on that list?
I will get that information for Bob. I'll get that information to your staff person. I would rather, we find it hard because people will not only phone in to see how many people are on the list, but what number they are on the list. And that can change because some people that we phone will no longer be interested. So we don't like to get into the intricacies of, you know, your number 6 or your number 29 You know, someone if I said they were number 29 might feel like they had no chance, or if they were number 40, when in fact 10 people we phone may not be interested. So
my only thought was that because we knew the number of people that were at the previous meetings and put their names on the list, there should be at least 24 names from HBM on your list to fill the 12 and 12.
I'm certain there probably is, and we'll get those numbers to Bob.
Thank you.
I do know several of the ones that were at those meetings weren't from Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, so just keep that in mind too. There was a lot there that are from close by, but not right in our township. So that'll be something to keep in mind as we move forward too. So there was at least a half a dozen. So, okay, well, okay, Bonnie, go ahead, and then we'll.
Yes, and in getting back to that, and I can understand the council. In Keene, we also have 2 seniors residents, and that's where we would like to be too, as well as to have everyone from Otonabee South Monaghan. But the reality is there's a wait list and we have to follow it. So we do have, you know, a good 50-60% now, but certainly our wait list isn't all OSM residents. Sometimes it's children that move parents here into that seniors complex, so there is a tie, or people that have retired to a trailer park here and get themselves on, but actually have spent their working life in the GTA. So it is, we just, as I say, get on the list. And Darlene stated that list does have many ins and outs with it. A lot of people have moved to where children are, and consequently you can go down the list very quickly. So thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, there's several cottage areas here. Like a lot of cottagers have they're bringing their parents here, and they may be a resident here and their parents may not, but I imagine there's some of them on the list too. But go ahead, Councillor Pomeroy, and then we're going to move on here.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Bonnie and Darlene for the information that we received, because you know how it goes in a small community. Sometimes they get things exaggerated a wee bit. So I think you've enlightened some of those questions for us. And I think it was Tanya Fredericks was the one that was taking the her and Matt. But Matt's long gone since. I think, isn't he? Does Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, because I have all my paperwork here. I see the numbers have gone up for the rent a wee bit, but so it's the numbers for income. So it's from my old paperwork. That's good. You answered all the questions that thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Bonnie and Darlene, for coming out and enlightening us a little bit here, and we look forward to the ribbon cutting in the future. But if there's any updates or anything that you can go through Bob and keep us updated, that's great. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, I'm going to move on. I'll take a motion to receive the delegation, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Hart, or Councillor Webb. I'm reading your name here, Hart. So anyways, all in favor? Carried? Okay, thank you.
And we'll make sure council gets a walk around at the very beginning.
Good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Maybe I might want a room.
Get on the list.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, okay, and bear with me, council. I don't know, I keep getting these little flashes about an unstable internet connection, so I don't know what's happening with the bell line. So if you lose me, Deputy Mayor Giroux will take over till I get back, because something's going on here. So,
Hey, unstable, pardon me, I didn't get the other word, unstable.
I'm unstable. So anyways, we'll move into staff reports for information. So Bob, there was your report there. Emma, will yours, we could receive it? Is there anything that you need with that, or with regards to?
Through you, Mayor Martin, the bylaw enforcement report, it dates back to February, and that's because their invoicing has just recently caught up to us. So we've included the latest report that we have with respect to bylaw enforcement activities. The other two reports are planning, have been written by our planning consultant regarding the issues of on-land boathouses and the designation of Sharps Bay at capacity. If there are any questions, our chief building official is happy to present those reports and answer the questions.
Okay, so the first one there, the first one we have here is with regards to the regulations on land boathouses. And the one thing that concerns me is all these timelines that are there when we don't really know when we're going to come out of this, as far as being able to have all these public meetings. And I'm sure there's a cost associated with trying to set these things up and then not being able to move ahead with it. So I'm just wondering, I like the reports, and it's good to see these things get tabled so everyone can read them and see what we're thinking. And I'm glad that they're looking towards the end of the summer, so everybody should be back. The only concern is hopefully we're up and running, that we can have these public meetings. So I'll just, John, do you have anything to add for the first one anyways there?
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Through you to council, yes, we've had that discussion. Staff has had that discussion. And there's a number of items. First, that we really didn't budget for large expenses in planning to do all this to start with. Secondly, as you have mentioned, most of the people that are involved with it may not be available till well into the season to do it. Thirdly, we are in the process of hiring a full-time planner. So if that does come to fruition, the planner may have a different direction or a different way that they may wish to bring to council at the time to do it. Now, regarding the boat houses, staff did a little bit of a quick survey, and we found in the last 2.25 years, out of 600 plus permits, there was only actually 4 that were issued for boat houses, on-land boat houses, 1 on Belmont Lake, 1 on Kosh Lake, and 2 on Jack Lake. So out of the 600 plus, the 3, it's only a very small percentage of what is being constructed, less than 2%. So staff thought this might be something council would consider holding off until the emergency orders are lifted, and then proceed with that further with it at that time.
Yeah, I think some of these things that they're working on right now, as far as planning and stuff, like I was telling you last week, there's some new regulations coming in, and if this carries on much longer, they're going to try and work in how to do some planning meetings as far as the public side of it. There's some issues around that, as you know, and but everybody wants to try and get things moving. So they are working on a plan to try and be able to open up planning and public input. So I'm glad to see that they are separating these two issues, or that's what the recommendation was from council, as far as the at capacity and the on-land boathouses. The on-land boathouses was mainly Jack's Lake area, as far as that was. Any surveys we've seen were mostly up in that area. The rest, so I don't know if we're going to do the whole township. So that's something that needs to be discussed when we do go forward with this. Is this a Jack's Lake thing, or is this the whole township? And it's really hard to get a feel right now with the way things are and the way things are held up. So because some of the things for advertising and that, if it is just Jack's Lake, the Havelock Rail and Crow Valley wouldn't even have to have any input in it. It's basically around up there in the north. So Councillor Pomeroy had his hand up there. Did you have something there, Barry?
Yeah, in the state that we're in here right now, I think we should just receive these reports for the time being.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you want to make that a motion.
I'll make that a motion that we receive them.
Okay, moved by Councillor Pomeroy that we receive these reports, and seconded by Councillor Ellis. Any more comments? Larry?
Just a comment on the previous, we've already passed the motion here, but the previous report for bylaw enforcement, I had a question for Wendland. Just look at the financial impact. The contract for that service, when does that expire, Wendland?
That has already expired, and we were going to look into, with the 2020 budget, the deputy fire chief potentially putting some bylaw in there. But Bob had, he can speak to that. He did not re-sign the agreement for 2020.
So through you, Mayor Martin, I can expand upon that. We earlier in the year, we did renew our contract with the commissionaires. However, we have not signed on to that agreement yet. Given the state of where we're at right now, and given potentially some changes with other staff going forward. So at this moment, bylaw enforcement continues as it was, as you can see the report there, but going forward, it's under review, and there will likely be changes there.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Okay, so going back, Wendland, go ahead, and then we'll get back.
I was just gonna say too, also John, Lucan, and Ray would be handling any bylaw issues coming forward. So it is still covered off, even though there's no cost to a contract.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so with regards to item 5, report planning boathouses there, we do have a motion and a seconder that we received that. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment. Thanks, John, for your input on the two subjects, and the boathouse in particular for us. And I do agree. But we do have to, hopefully by fall, make a decision on these boathouses. I know it's difficult now with the times we're in, but we do have to move forward, or we're going to get into a situation that we had before, where even though there's only 2% boathouses right now, if they think we're going to stop them, we could get inundated with a lot of them. So thanks, John.
Okay, thank you. So all in favor of the motion that we receive the report on boathouses? Carried. The next report was with regards to Jack's Lake, and it's a similar report that requires public input. So I'm thinking that it would be best if we were to receive that also. And hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we have something as far as planning, that there's another option that we can kind of move on with these things. But if we could get a motion to receive them right now. Is that moved by Councillor Giroux, our Deputy Mayor Giroux, and seconded by Councillor Ellis? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Yeah, so we'll just get on with them as soon as we can. We do want to have them over with before we get into what we were into last year, where it came up through the winter. We want to make sure everybody's around here and they can have input into them. So thank you for that. With that, we'll move on to staff reports with follow-up action. So I'll open it up to Ryan with regards to with regards to water, the well 1 and 4 equipment failure.
Good morning, Mayor Martin and Council. Yeah, this report that I prepared for you outlines the equipment failure that we had last week at well 1 and 4. Everything's been looked after now, and the PLC is being installed right now, so everything's okay there. The intent of the report was to update council the issue that we had and the corrective action that was taken to fix it. And further to that, a little bit of information was provided there with regards to the PLC that we have at well 3. And I thought that it may be of interest to council to understand a little bit more about that issue, and maybe we can look at taking a proactive approach here and maybe get that equipment installed at well 3 so we can avoid a similar issue in the future. So these basically the PLCs are the or is what runs our plant. So without having that piece of equipment up and running, we can't operate. So.
Well, and it's always better to be proactive rather than reactive, which we had to do last week. So,
yeah.
Okay, Wendolyn, you had go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a friendly amendment to the recommendation that it has in there. It would come from the reserve, because it doesn't say that in the recommendation for council.
Okay. All right then, Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah, I just have one question. For well 3, the cost is $59,736, and that's for 2 of them. And for well 1 and 4, it's $18,170, which for 1. So if you doubled it up, that would be $36,340. I just wondered what the additional work would be at well 4 or well 3.
Well, there's a lot more work with the 2 that have to communicate with each other. So there's a lot of extra work that goes into the installation there. I did attach a breakdown provided by Aqua, exactly where those costs come from.
Yeah, I see the cost there, but
Electronics, Barry?
yeah, electronics, I guess if we got to have it anyway, but I mean, we can't stay in the dark forever, and that's what we were working on, was an old system that the guys pretty near dead up north now. They're now to program this thing, so we got to move on with some new updated equipment. But I just wondered on the difference in the price. I know you got a breakdown of it, but.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Giroux had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ryan, for that report. It was well done, very precise. It's all there in black and white. And for me, we have to take the safety of our citizens into account here. So I think we all were hoping that we would get a grant for this. Unfortunately, it wore out before we wanted it to. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendation here, and thank Aqua also. They've taken it quite a bite by the look of the numbers here. They've stepped up to the plate here.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux that we received the report. Is there a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Oh. All in favor there. I'll just see everybody's hands. Carried. Okay. Wendolyn, you had a comment on that?
I was just going to mention that Aqua did absorb some of the labor costs too.
Yeah.
So there is a cost savings there.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Okay, the next report is with regards to seasonal operator. Ryan?
Yep. So this, sorry, I'm just going to bring it up here. Okay, so basically, this report just outlines the need to obtain a seasonal operator for the summer. Typically, it's something that we would advertise for and conduct interviews, but given the current situation, recommending that we don't advertise and bring people in to do interviews when we have qualified staff that can fill those positions. So it's just basically looking for approval from council to offer a seasonal contract position to one of our winter operators that are currently laid off as of last Friday.
Okay. It sounds good. Is there anybody who would like to make a motion? Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Normally, this is not what occurs, but we are not operating under normal circumstances in today's world. So yes, I would make the motion to approve that recommendation from Ryan.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Ellis, with a comment.
Comment, yeah. Well, to me, it makes good management planning due to the circumstances that we're involved in here. My only comments would be to make sure that we're doing it the legal way, lay off and then rehire. I believe that way we're not going to have ourselves in trouble that way.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like everything's being taken care of that way. They're off now, so and this will go till the end of October, and then they'll have another time off for a couple of weeks while we select a new person. So
okay, that was my only concern. Make sure.
okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Is there any more comments or questions? So all in favor, and if you can hold your hand up to the screen there, it's carried. Okay. So next we're moving into the tender, the truck tender.
Yep. So as the report outlines, we did advertise for a tandem truck, full plow and wing setup. So that closed last week, and staff reviewed the tenders and went through all the details and specifications that were listed in the tender. It was a very detailed list that we were looking for. In the table in the report, just basically summarizes the submission costs and the whether they met or they didn't meet the specifications. I'm recommending that we that council approve the purchase for the International supplied by Winslow Gerald Motors, as it did meet all the specifications in that tender. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I did talk to Ryan over the weekend about it because there was some questions around it, but I was satisfied with what he had to say. So, Councillor Pomeroy?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why there'd be, $30,000 difference between a Mac and an International. It must have quite a few things that aren't on our list for to meet the tender specs.
I think that's what came out of it is Ryan had said that a lot of as far as going along with what we were asking for, there was things in the other tenders that they weren't what we were looking for. So I don't know whether you can add to that, Ryan.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So the Mack truck, I believe it looks like the submission, it's a truck that's already built. And I feel like the reason it didn't meet our specifications because it's already sitting there on the lot ready to go, where the other trucks that were submitted are to be built so they can build them to our standard. So I think that's where the shortcomings came from.
Okay, so does it meet our standards as it is sitting on the lot?
Agree, Mr. Mayor. It did not meet our specifications listed in the tender. No. So it wasn't what we were looking for.
Okay. No,
you could add the additional piece of equipment to modify it to bring it up to our specification. But given the tender process, we thought that we recommended that this was the way to go.
Okay.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Well, I see there's 1 year difference in the Mack and the other truck. Anyway, the one that we're going to order is a 2021 and the Mack is a 2020. So there's one difference that I saw when I was going through submissions. The other thing is where is the Mack truck? Is it in Ottawa, Peterborough?
So the submission came from the office in Ottawa, but through my conversations with that company, that truck is actually sitting in Kingston right now.
Okay, thanks, Ryan, for that.
Okay.
So, has there been a motion made? Sorry, Mayor.
Yeah.
Has there been a motion made yet?
No, if you wanted to make a motion that we approve the recommendation.
I will make that.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Ellis. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. So, all right then. So that's the end of staff reports that I have listed here. Thank you, Ryan. We'll move into correspondence. We don't have any action items. There's a couple of things on there, and one is a good news story around Quarth ethanol and the production of hand sanitizer. They're doing something like 9,000 liters a day. It's nice to see that they could step up to the plate and help out where it was needed. So that's a good news story for our local Quarth ethanol here. So other than that, it's, if the other one there is with Land Use Planning and Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, if there's no comments, or I'll take a motion to receive the correspondence. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy.
With a question.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Webb. Go ahead, Barry.
The, not 9,000, it says it's up to 90,000.
90,000, yeah.
Okay.
So Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Mayor Martin, if I could ask John a question. So I understood that report. Does that, am I reading it right that they're actually extending our time limits then for
yeah.
So to answer your question, Deputy Mayor Giroux through Mayor Martin, yes, so through an order of council and the emergency order, like building permit applications, inspections, and planning, all the time limits are presently waived. So that's part of what they're looking at, is how going forward in the future we can facilitate public meetings through it. But presently, the time limits for all planning and building are all waived.
Thank you, John.
Okay. I've lost it here anyways. Do we had a motion to, did we receive all that, Bob, or?
We have a motion by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Webb to receive.
Okay. And all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move into councillor activity reports. It's been hard. We're all busy in different ways here as far as trying to speak with the community and keep everybody updated. It's been a challenge, to say the least, trying to do everything we can to keep everyone informed. I see Deputy Mayor Giroux has got a report here with Eastern Trails Alliance, if you wanted to speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's just a couple of correspondence went out to the board members and other communities that have board members on council, other councils throughout our area. So it was just an update. So if there's any questions, I'll try and answer them. It's just an update from EOTA.
Okay. So a motion to receive that report. Do you want them separately, Bob, or do you want them all together?
You can do it all together. It's fine.
Okay. All right. And all I had there was some of the, still doing lots of conference calls, and they did cut down the 1 week there after our last meeting. It wasn't too bad, but last week they ramped up again, and so we've been, once again, we have teleconferences with MP Marion Monsef. It's down to a couple times a week, and then MPP Dave Smith. Usually it's an update of what the province and what the federal government is doing, and most of it we're hearing on the news anyways, but with Marion Monsef, there's a little bit of a local content, and that's with regards to PCAD, the Quarth Economic Development, and things that they're doing to try and start to plan for when we do come out of this. I was told last week it will be a little bit longer to start to see the other side. It's today we should get some updates, and but the messaging was the big thing amongst the mayors around the riding, as far as one referred it to like the cigarette package and how it worked when it first came out, but it's kind of people overlooked that now, and that's what seems to be happening with the messaging that we're trying to put out there about staying home and isolating. As the weather gets nicer, it's going to get more challenging. So they're trying to come up with some new messaging, and they're doing it united. That's the best thing about all these conferences is, the differences among elected officials has all been put aside right now while we deal with this. And even our medical officer of health has been brought into the picture here, as much as sometimes we don't agree with things that are said. They're doing a great job trying to keep us informed and trying to keep us moving forward to get out of this. Dave Smith is starting some virtual town hall meetings this week with the city and the county. So that went out to all our businesses around Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, and all the townships around us are doing the same thing. The first one will be with real estate lawyers and accountants on Tuesday. The second one's going to be with just general business, which will be our contractors and things like that, on what they're expecting and what they need to come out of it. And the third one will be on Thursday with the retail industry. So this will be an opportunity for people. It's hard enough doing this right now with the screens I have on here. I don't know how Dave's going to do it with 100. He was going to have up to 100 people at these things. I don't know how productive it'll be. So I did suggest to him that we do, invite specific people from each township, as far as making sure that they do know about this. But like Bob said, we got to make sure everybody knows about it, that they can try and get in on this thing. Not everybody has internet, but that's the way it is right now, and people will have to take advantage of it one way or another if they want to keep updated on it. So this will be a good opportunity for Dave to start to get a feel of what's out there and what people are dealing with, and start to plan for the other side of this when we do start to come out of it. So the OPP, they've been really busy as far as social gatherings and stopping by people's places. They did do some stops, not this past weekend. I haven't heard yet. I haven't got an update, but the weekend before, they were actually going to houses and cottages where there was more than 5 people, and they did lay charges actually at 2 or 3 places from what we were told. So the whole idea of no social gatherings, and with the Crown land and the parks and that, they're doing surveillances of them. It's keeping them busy out on things that they're not normally doing. So, but they are working hard to try and keep things safe. So we will get another update this week. I think it's on Thursday, the next meeting with the OPP. But they do keep us up on what's happening and what they're up to. So with that, that's about all I had for teleconferences last week. Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Through you, Mayor Martin. With Dave MPP Smith's virtual town hall meetings, will one of our staff or at least one council member attend those virtual meetings? Do we need any information out of those meetings?
And that might be something. It might not hurt if somebody wanted to see, if there was room. That will be the thing. If he's only going to take 100, we don't want to occupy it with elected officials. It's more for the community, but he'll have a report that comes out of it. But it wouldn't hurt for, if staff has time to be able to maybe check it out or contact Dave Smith and ask what he would like, because it is his meeting. So even if council wants to talk to him, they can. The biggest thing is we don't want to fill it up with 4 councilors from, or council members from Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. Or if we did that with all 8 municipalities or whatever, it would be full of elected officials, and it's the public that we need to know what they want. But it wouldn't hurt to talk to Dave and see how it's going with the bookings. It's an RSVP meeting, so they do have to book in to take part in it. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you, Jim. It's just that I think probably all the council have got that email about the meetings. As long as we get a report back from MPP Smith to our municipality, then that would be great. But I just didn't want to think that there would be a virtual town hall meeting that had anything to do with HBM and the council didn't have any, not input so much as what come out of that meeting. So that's all. Thank you.
So that might be good if staff could, even if they could check it out, if there's like the retail one, even as far as economic development, it might be good if somebody has an opportunity to sit in on that, or if Hart has a chance through economic development, maybe he could sit in on that as part of his committee. That would be good to to get our, and he can do a report for us if that's what you mean, Dave.
Yes, that's where it was going.
Yeah. So, and then with the, if John could sit in on the builders one, it would be good to know what they're thinking, and he'll get some answers on that. And then with regards to the accountants, and whether Hart wants to sit in on that one too, it's up to him. But talk to Dave Smith. See, there is an RSVP thing on there, and you can ask his staff if you could take part in it for us, that would be great. So with that, is there any other reports with activity there that's not on the list here? Seeing none, so just a motion to receive those reports would be good.
Motion to
By
receive.
Councillor Ellis, and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we don't have any written notice of motions. Is there any oral notice of motions coming out today? Seeing none, we'll move into other business. I'll play catch up here. So I'm not a good multitasker. It's got paper and computer going here. So anyways, we'll move into other business there then. And so Councillor Ellis, you had something on there with regards to paper usage?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. One thing about COVID-19 has kind of forced lots of businesses, municipalities doing things differently. One of the things that I've thought about for some time now, and I did speak with CAO Bob the other day about it, is the ability for us to use electronics versus paperwork. This week was a good example. Thursday, we get the email from our CAO with a link showing us our council meeting agenda. So it gives you a day extra to prepare and start to prepare for your council meeting. That was great. On Friday, you can go to the municipal office and you get your package. In your package has a little memory stick with all your agenda information, whether it be open or closed on your memory stick. But in the package is the paperwork. Now, for an example, this week there was 45 pages of paper, not including a closed session. So a closed session had it been in there, there would have been more paperwork. I just think that we have the ability now to do things electronically. I haven't personally used the paperwork for a long time. It usually just stays in my envelope and I turn it back in. I pick them up my memory stick on Friday. I put it in my laptop at the point when I get ready to use it. I download it. I save it to my screen. So I always have it to refer back to. I can go back for a year to look at meetings and agendas, any information that I had stored. So it's all available electronically. So I'd like to see us as a council initiate a cost savings initiative to eliminate the paper part of agendas. We receive it electronically. You can store it electronically. So that's what I'm bringing forward.
And I think that's up to the individuals, and it's all nice if we can all do our part. So it's a good thought there, Larry. And I think it would be up to council what they're comfortable with as far as moving forward. If you don't need the paper, I think we can all tell Bob if the paper's not required, we can save it that way. But I know, as far as downloading it through your internet, not everybody has the internet that they can download all these things to. There's a cost to it sometimes if you're not unlimited. So I just think it's up to the individuals, and if we can do our part to save a tree, that's great, and we have done well. I do take the agenda paper copy and keep it with me, so and the stick does the job. I don't think I'll need the full paper agenda anymore now that we're getting used to this the computer thing here. But so moving forward, yeah, we can you know, eliminate some of the paper there. Barry, you had something, and then go back to Larry.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Larry, but there is some of us that do like a hard copy to refer to. I know we have the other alternatives there. But I still like the hard copy regardless. I know we can put it on the stick. I can bring up all my meetings from day one. But I still like a hard copy that I can sit down, I can tick off. I mean, probably you're more computer literate than I am, and you can put an X here or an X there and so on and so forth. I prefer the paper, and that's just a personal thing on my part. You can get rid of the paper on your part, but I'm gonna ask Bob to print me a hard one.
Yeah, so we're still kind of a little ways apart there, Larry, but I think it's good if we can do it, like, you know, we can all individually at this time start to try and do our part. I think is the way to go, but, and you're right, there's a few of us might not need the paper when we get the stick anyway. So starting into this, I felt more comfortable having the paper too, especially if I had to rely on my internet. Even if I've lost you once today, I might lose you again here. It keeps doing a little bit of funny things. So go ahead, Larry, and then we'll.
Yeah, well, it really doesn't affect internet or usage of your data plan. It becomes an email on Thursday, as we did this week. It's an email that we received from our CAO. So it gives you a day in advance to read the agenda to prepare. And then the stick, it just is all stored on your laptop. It has nothing to do with data or internet. So.
Yeah, as long as you don't download it, that's.
Yeah. So anyway, it's an efficiency strategy that I would like to see all council, and maybe leave it up to the individual if you want a paper copy. But I think it's a very good cost savings initiative. You think of over the course of a year, the amount of paperwork that's printed and thrown in the garbage after your council meeting.
I don't think we were getting paper copies before, were we, Bob? Before we started doing the Zoom thing, I think we weren't getting paper copies, were we?
Always.
No.
So through you, Mayor Martin, just to summarize the discussion a little bit. So as we've gone into this period of social distancing, and we're all trying to learn the electronic meeting, we did initiate a paper copy for all council members to follow along the agenda while you're looking at your screen. There you go. Yeah. Exhibit A, Deputy Mayor Giroux. So that was just a measure to be helpful while you're on screen. And if that's no longer required, we've done that for 2 meetings now. If that's no longer required, it's obviously not a problem to stop doing that. It was simply a matter of convenience so we could follow along the agenda while we were on the screen. With respect to typical meetings when the doors are open, typically we have paper copy for closed session. We have the agenda cover page, which outlines some timing on our open session. The rest is done on the memory stick. So we certainly have the technology that allows us to potentially just email it to council. We could password protect any files we wish. It's also, we download the open session, of course, it's on our website. So if we choose to go completely in an electronic fashion, it is possible to do that. And we'll seek direction from council on that.
Yeah, Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Thank you for that, Bob. Yes, I totally agree. If we can get away from even going to get the sticks and have it emailed to us, that would be great. If that's legal and secure, that would be a good way to do that for me anyway. But as for in the time of this pandemic that we're going through in our virtual meetings, if I didn't have my package paper, I mean, it's easier to follow along a meeting. Yeah, we read our documents, like you say. On Thursday, I was able to download it from the email and start reading it. but I can't remember everything that's in 48 pages, so I like to have it in front of me when we're doing our virtual meetings. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so we'll just do what we can, Larry, and try and move towards that as we come out of this. Once again, it's there is a few challenges right now, but I've always said to Bob, even I'm torn. I know the county emails, like they have a link that we can go to for our county agendas, and the closed session is password protected, which is ours should be too. But I also hate to see these things get loaded on computers because it is closed sessions. It shouldn't be on your computer. It shouldn't be accessible, and I hope everybody deletes them once they've got them, because it's just something that shouldn't be hanging out there. It's something to read, and then it's something to get rid of. At least with the paper, you can put it back in your package and send it back with your when you send it back in, just so it's not out there for somebody to be able to read. That's the whole idea with closed session, is it's all private. So we got to be careful with that part of it and work out something that works for everyone. So is there any more comments on that? Go ahead, Larry.
Just one last comment. This morning for this council meeting, how many councilors are using their laptop as if you were sitting in the council chambers?
I'm using 2 laptops and a paper. So.
Okay.
Okay. Barry, you're using laptop and paper?
Yep, paper, yep.
And Dave is too, and I don't know, Hart? Both, yeah. Just for now, Larry, I think it's just, you know, and luckily the agendas are small. These ones are only 40 and 50 pages. Normally they're, you know, 70 and 80 or up to 100 pages. So these ones are small anyways. So hopefully we can keep it that way. Go ahead, Bob.
So through you, Mayor Martin, we're certainly happy to accommodate any council member. If anyone chooses not to receive the paper, we're certainly happy to accommodate that. If you choose to receive it by electronic only, it's not a problem. So we'll work with council in any way that you wish to receive.
Yeah, we'll work towards that, Larry. And like I say, I don't need my paper. I think I'm getting onto this now that I can start to relax on the full agenda package and just get to, I like the agenda, not the rest of the package. But so
definitely just there's a learning curve there, and the buzzword of these days is flatten the curve.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Yep. Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Just one question through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Ellis. So perhaps I can do some learning. Can you actually run your video link today in this council chamber and see your package all at the same time on your video?
Okay, I have my personal laptop set up where I'm viewing council. I have my council chambers laptop set up and I'm following the agenda as if I was sitting in the council chambers.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's different ways of doing it, and we'll all be techies when this is all over. We'll all be.
So I guess the municipality would have to buy us another laptop then.
So Bob, go ahead and then we'll finish up on this part.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, and I think we're not quite there yet, but I believe there is a way. The technology does allow you to have like a split screen where you've got your agenda up on one side and your meeting is taking place on the other side, but perhaps that's a little advanced for most of us right at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get confused easy enough right now here. So, okay, so a motion to receive Larry's, and we'll see what we can do. Everybody can get back to the office if they don't need the paper. If we can cut down anywhere in paper, that's great. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? Okay, carried that we try and do our part to save some trees. So with that, we'll move into Councillor Pomeroy. You had a list of things here, so did you want to go through them?
Yeah, if I could. Sewer technology repair work on the collection system. Do we have any information back on that yet? I realize it's a bit premature because we won't know the flows, right?
Yeah, I imagine they just finished, but go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, the work was completed. So we're expected to receive the reports next week with all that detailed information. So council can expect a report back in the near future with the results of that work that was completed.
Okay. The other one was a request for quotation for the replacement of the sanitary sewers. Did you ever get anything else figured out there, Ryan?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so after the last, I believe the council meeting in early March, we were approved to go ahead and do a geotechnical investigation of the subsurface materials. After the council meeting, that took place first week of April, and I just received the report from Cambian Environmental on Friday. So that information is going to go to our engineer, and then we're going to try and keep moving forward on that project based on the findings of that work.
Okay, I have another question. If our flows come down substantially, could we get away with not doing the sanitary sewer between those two manholes? Because the rest of it all flows downhill. Like it's natural from 116 right to the lagoon, eh? It's not force fed. Right, John? So I'm wondering if we have to spend that much money, if it's going to work for us, because there's not that much building going to go on in the north end of town, I wouldn't think, that we can't handle, because we've been handling it for years, and we're worried about our subdivision, so it's all got to go south. And I would think that it would be basically natural flow. Something to look at. I think we need to get some information on that. I know the manholes up there, 14, 15 feet deep at the end of Pomeroy Drive. And but that's where it turns around and then it's pumped back up again. Anyway, John, are you?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you to answer Councillor Pomeroy's question. So this may be something that Ryan could have the engineers look at to see if there is a substantial reduction in the flow, because we do have Smith and the 24 units plus the new houses are all going to flow by gravity through 115 and 116. But the calculations from the engineer were hypothetical development for the undevelopable plus in existence for the rest of town. But for sure, if they come back that we have huge flow reduction, it would be something the engineers could look at and maybe get back to us.
Okay. Thanks, John, because if we don't need it at this time, there might be some grants in the future, because I don't think there's any grants for this job, is there, Gwendolyn? No? Okay.
Okay.
And the hydro.
Just a minute there, Barry. Dave had a comment there.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Mayor Martin. Just to refresh my memory, John, if you could, between 15 and 16, is that where the pipe narrows?
So the pipe is the same size, but the grade is different. So the flow capacity, as it reaches the peak of the hill and starts going down, there's one section between 115 and 116. Pipe is the same size all the way through. It's just the grade flattens out, so the capacity drops.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we can look into that, Barry, as we move on. It was one of the things that Ryan was asked to do. So, but that makes sense.
Understandable. I'm just looking at it and figured maybe we can save some money this year and maybe get a grant next year. Who knows? I don't.
Okay.
Anyway, the hydro seeding on Smith Drive, are we gonna do that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the hydro seeding and the fine grading is scheduled for the 1st of May.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. And
The soil will have to warm up before that can happen, eh, Ryan? It has to be around 15 degrees. I think.
Yeah, for sure. It would be nice to get some above 10-degree weather overnight to get a good result out of that.
So we're not feeding the birds.
okay. All right, and East End storm drain. What have we got on that? I'll have to go back to Bob.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, we're still working with the county, and we're trying to arrange a meeting with the Ministry of Transportation, with CP Rail, with the county and the township ourselves, to discuss a plan on how we're going to address that. But that meeting hasn't taken place, but we've been working on that for the last couple of months and trying to arrange that.
Is that the one that we have the break-in on the East End? Where we had to get the easements? Is that the one? Oh, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yep. We're talking about the same one. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I do have another one here. The long term. I know there's probably not much difference in what we heard the last time. I think I asked Bob and he gave me another update. But we can't forget it neither. We got to get our MPP in gear, because in these times, you know, it's one of those things I think that might be a preference now too. I don't know.
I think Barry, just from the conversations I've had on these video calls and that, all of those things, because I know one of the things that happened on Thursday, I think that's all the stuff. You're right. When we come out of this, we're all ready. That's shovel ready, and hopefully that means something. As far as the builder right now, from what I understand, they got a lot more things to worry about than us, just with the homes that they have already. So I'm sure they're not going to be very entertaining as far as thinking about a new one right yet. But you're right with the MPP there. I know I've talked to Pacini about it, even because I had a call with him about something else. And when I'm talking to Dave, it's not something you can do on a group call. It's more of a specific to Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. But you know, staff can reach out to the office there and just ask where it's at. It wouldn't hurt to get an update that way through the government, because they're who's holding us up. It's not the builder. It's the government. So let's get on to them and find out where the licensing is going to be at, and if that's going to be one of the things, because we're going to be looking for economic growth here as far as building and jobs, and it's going to fit right into what we need. So you're right. Just the timing. I know Bob did reach out after the one meeting there. And go ahead, Bob.
Yeah.
So through you, Mayor Martin, the latest update, Aon, two things. First of all, they're obviously consumed with COVID right now, and that's their focus. However, they have been in contact with ministry officials. That process is continuing, and they're at the process now of they need to get their development agreement approved. And once that happens, they'll be back to the township, and we can complete the transaction with respect to the land transfer.
Okay.
Okay, the other thing, I would just like to see this proceed. You know, it's been in the government now for, well, 2 years ago, last February, when it was approved up on the Hill. And we're down to actually just signing of a pen. You know, I want to know why in hell the holdup is. I know, I realize Aon can't go ahead right now, but it could be ready for them. You know, if we had the other papers signed and we're ready to go. Like, we're not ready to go because we're being held up in Toronto, and that's why I would like Dave Smith to maybe jump on the bandwagon. I realize he's busy, but you know, we've been busy for 2 years too, since it's been approved, and we're still at square one. I would like to see something done so that all they have to do is get it signed. Maybe it won't be done for another year, I don't know, but at least we would be ready to go.
Yeah, totally hear your frustration, Barry. And Bob, if we could, that might be the route. Instead of contacting Aon, maybe if we could, reach out to the MPP and ask where it's at even, or when they'll be having, if they have a opportunity to start looking at coming out of this thing, that should be top on the list. Might be a way of putting it to them. I don't know what you think.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, well, through you, Mayor Martin, the impression I'm getting from Aon is that they're not feeling ignored by the province. They've been in communication with the province. It's simply a matter of the process is rolling along, if you will. And they're just not at that finish line yet.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Giroux?
Thank you, that's okay.
Okay.
You must have a flat tire.
Okay, well, that's a good update. We're all anxious to get that going, and hopefully that is the next part of the phase up on the hill there. So is there anything else in new business here that anyone had to bring forward at this time? Go ahead, Barry.
23 King.
Do you want to unmute, is Ray still on the line? Unmute Ray, please. There you go. Ray, are you with us?
It's done.
Thank you, Ray.
It's done. There you go.
That's all I got to say. It's done.
Did he do it this morning?
Before you were out of your onesie, Barry.
I go by it every day.
Leave it to Ray.
Oh.
Okay. All right then. Thank you, Ray. Good to see you can sit in on the meeting and not get called. So unless you've been out now calling, just leave your phone off the hook. So anyway, so if there's no other business, Councillor Ellis?
Just while we have Chief Haynes with us, I'm just kind of curious how things are going in the fire department in regards to answering calls. Has there been any kind of an increase due to the situation? And how the fire department are handling the calls?
So March, the calls, I think I mentioned this, March, the calls dropped right down to hardly anything. And then right at the end of March, they started picking back up, and April has been busy. I believe we're somewhere around 30 calls already this month. I have changed protocols on how to respond to calls with proper PPEs and the number of guys in the trucks.
And how's your response, Ray? Like, are you getting support?
I am getting guys come to the hall, but I am getting a lot of guys that are not coming to medical calls.
So in other words, you're handling the majority of the medical?
I'm doing a lot of them, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
The one thing that's come out of this is with the M&R ban on fires. I talked to Ray last week, and the protocol for going to calls, he's had a number of calls about people having fires with the fire ban on, and I did ask him to implement. He has a way of charging people, and the rate is, I think, $485 if somebody's caught with a fire going. And I did ask him people know that these fires aren't supposed to be happening, and some people are trying to work around it, and they're, and he's soft a little bit sometimes as far as, if it's a family sitting around having a fire, he sometimes gives warnings. I think at this time with the state of emergency, I don't have time for warnings. People know that the fires aren't allowed, and I prefer him to lay charges. It's a time for him to go out when he's already got enough medical calls going on. To get an unnecessary call for a fire burning, there's no time for stuff like that right now. So I think I did ask him if he would. He has it in his in the bylaw to charge. I think it's a provincial rate. I've seen Madoc's doing it, and I said he should be doing it for us too, because these are unnecessary calls at this time, and there's a cost to going out to check them. So it's $485, I think. He'll check on that when we get off of here, but there's no warnings right now. So go ahead, Larry.
I was wondering if that information could be added to our website or wherever we're advertising the fire ban. If that could be added in there, it might get their attention a little quicker.
Okay.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Okay, so if you could, there must be a, I've seen it in other townships, so whatever it looks like, if you could get something like that posted, that would be good, Bob. People need to understand right now, we don't have time for things like that. So, okay, so maybe a motion to notify the public of the fire ban again and put the charge, the amount of the charge that's for fines in that. Deputy Mayor Giroux?
I would do that. Also, I wonder if it would be to our advantage to have it on our electronic sign out front.
Yeah, like once we know the exact number, because one said 475, one said 485, whatever it is. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. The fire ban is on right now, and it could be on that sign, and the cost of the fine wouldn't hurt. It might give people a little bit of a kick to obey it. So, is there any other things for new business here? If not, oh, we had a mover there. Do you move that? Did you, Dave?
I did, yes.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Ellis? And then any more comments or questions? Go ahead, Dave.
I have one, Jim, if I could. I'm waving my hand, but you guys can't see me.
I seen it, but I was trying to get through this. Go ahead.
It hits $485. It's the MTO rate that we charge. But because this is a provincial band, it's not an HBM band. Because we didn't put it out as HBM because the M&R put it on across the fire zones, right? The restricted zone.
Well, the M&R, it's $615, isn't it?
No, there is no set cost. I actually was in contact. I talked to Kevin, our M&R rep, on Saturday. He got back to me. There is no set cost that the province has. It's up to $25,000.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then it also there's 3 months in jails, and they can also charge you for all costs of the fire.
All for a brown marshmallow.
We can't charge for the province.
Okay. All right. I was wondering how they did that.
So it would have to be an M&R conservation officer that we'd have to get in touch and say, hey, they're burning down here. For Bottle Lake, I would do something like that if it gets too bad up there, for sure. And they know about that. I did talk to Kevin about it. But for them to come in here into town or just outside of town for a little small campfire, you're probably not going to see it.
Okay. Well, so maybe moving forward, this motion, the staff could post something on an up-to-date fire ban message on the board on Highway 7 and on our website to show all the costs associated with it, if there is any. So, and that was moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux, seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor of that? Carried. And was there any other comments in the new business?
Just
Dave and then Barry.
Just very quickly, through you, Mayor Martin, I want to thank Bob and Joni for our emails that went on in the weekend in regards to an issue on one of our lakes. And I would hope in the future that when we have some kind of report on that issue, it'll come back to council members, because I am very concerned with this.
Yeah, and Dave Smith did reach out to me on the weekend too, Dave, with regards to that, and it is being taken care of. So all the right people know about it. It's just somebody needs to get something done about it. That's the big thing. So you're right. So,
thank you.
Okay, Barry, and then.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Bob. I just want to inform you that I had a teleconference this past week with Autonomy Conservation, so I'm really getting techie.
Oh. Well, that is awesome. I told you you're turning into a computer geek.
Yeah, you know what I told you.
I know.
So before we go out of this, that might be something to touch on before we, as we come forward to the next meeting. It's maybe council could start thinking about some of the committees that we're on, and if there's a way of doing this Zoom or doing some teleconferences, like I'm picking economic development, Hart. If there's a way moving forward that we can start talking, and if we wanted to do a conference call sometime with the people from there, might be an opportunity to get the conversation going. And I'm going to actually talk to Crow Valley to see, like I did hear last week, actually Bonnie was probably on that call with you, Barry, for Otonabee, I think, or
Yeah.
Sherry sent us and them. So anyways, we should start trying to, do what we can to get our committees going again, even if they're virtual, and be ready for this when we start to move out the other side. So that's just for council's consideration between now and the next meeting. If there's any opportunity to get things going, let's do it, eh? So, Barry?
I have one more thing, Jim. I just wondered about the library board. Like, we haven't had a meeting since back when, but if we could do like a teleconference or something there too, because there's still a little bit of business that has to be done.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Yeah.
And I just want to know, is it legal for the library board to do?
I think there's an opportunity for everybody to do something as long as it's open and transparent. It's the big thing. So if there's if your committee has somebody taking minutes and it's, I don't know about the public side, open to the public kind of thing. I don't know how your library board meetings work, but cemetery board's another one that there's probably an opportunity to at least touch base and just see how things are progressing. I know there's some issues there. So I'm not sure with the library board, but if you could check that out between now and the next meeting, and if there is an opportunity to get together and get things going, let's do it and make the best of these opportunities that we have doing these virtual meetings and try and make the most of them.
Okay, thank you.
So, I don't know whether that was yours or mine, but it was all free, making some funny sounds again. So, if there's nothing else in new business, did you have something, Bob, before we go out of there?
No, I think we're good, Mayor Martin. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move into, there is no bylaws to report or to do. Closed session, we don't have any closed session today. That might be something that we're going to have to do. And we thought, talking with Bob, it would be easier to do it. It's hard to do these virtual ones. You have to go out. And I know North Fourth the last week left everybody on hold for 2 hours while they were in close. They thought it was only going to be 15 minutes. Went into 2 hours and these people were sitting on the line. So I said to him, it might be easier to do a closed session on a separate, we could do that right now if you wanted to, if you're ready, or you can notify us, Bob, and we can put the notice on our website for when the next closed meeting would be.
Right, through you, Mayor Martin, we don't have an agenda prepared and there has been no notice, so we probably should not do it right now, but we will get something together and it'll be a virtual meeting.
Okay, all right, so if that's okay with council, we'll, staff will get the agenda together and we will have a closed meeting if there's anything that needs to be dealt with there. We will be doing it, but it'll just be a separate meeting instead of trying to do it on this. So, okay, so with that, I'll look for the confirming bylaw, a motion for the confirming bylaw. Councillor Webb, seconder. Yeah, Deputy Mayor Giroux, thank you. All in favor and carried. Okay, and motion to adjourn. Okay. Councillor Pomeroy, Deputy Mayor Giroux, all in favor? Carried. Well, thanks everyone. Good to get together this way, and it's good things are moving along. So motion, yeah, we got the motion to adjourn. So our next meeting is Monday, May 4th. It's good that we can still keep things going, and hopefully by then there'll be some good news. I know this afternoon there's some news on the projections and that, and it hopefully is promising, and hopefully things are going to start to I'm careful how I say this because I said it last Thursday night and got hung. So But hopefully in another couple weeks, things will be starting to move forward and we can get on with things a little more normal. So thank you, and I'm gonna get out of this thing.
Go already.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right.